you are seeing here is the preparation of the gene lines that would later be used in the Messiah projects. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself unto her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hands against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Note, behold, the birth of what one day would become the people of Islam. It is important to remember that the collective angel was sent by the same person that was dealing with the Hebrews. And she came, and she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For he said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? No, this is an interesting verse. It's really quite simple. She gave him a drink of water. Wherefore the well was called Beer-Leah Roy. Behold, it is between Gadash and Bered. Note, the well of the living God. This is important as it indicates how these beings were perceived. In the past, gods were seen as dislocated spiritual forces. Here we see that these gods or angels are viewed as living, breathing, eating, drinking men and women. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. Note, what a beautiful name. It means the star of Ma. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. The above verses are clearly a sea angel event, or collective angel event. The actions taken by the Doma would eventually impact the entire world. It also serves to prove a very valuable point. For many years, the Islamic and Christian faiths has warred with one another. Each has forgotten the common ground from which their roots sprang. To be fair, the Christians, specifically the Roman Catholic Church, is to blame for much of the hostility. I was asked by one of the Doma what I thought of Christianity. I said to her, if it were not for the Christians, Christianity would be one of the greatest things going. This was said with humor and a touch of saddened irony. Few people have slain more innocent children of God than the Christians. Islam teaches that Christians and Hebrews are children of the books. They believe in Jesus as the great teacher and prophet he was. They do not commit idolatry by making him into God. There has been much blood spilled on both sides over this very point. The blame is equal on both sides. The Christians are guilty of idolatry and the murder of innocents. The children of Islam are guilty of the same slaughter of innocents, all in the name of God. They are also guilty of another much deeper thing. They have come to hate Christians because of the actions of Christianity because of the actions of the Christians and of the church. Much of this resentment is totally justified, but in doing so, they have attempted to separate Islam from Christianity. This was never meant to be. It is not the way. Muhammad told you that Jesus was a prophet and of the one. When is the last time the words and teachings of Jesus were heard in the temples of Allah? The one. Jesus and Muhammad were brothers sent from the one. They taught the same way. They complement and validate the holiness of one another. Jesus is as much a part of Islamic faith as Muhammad. His teachings were the Word of God. By the same token, when was the last time the Pope taught from the Quran? We are getting too far off topic here. These issues are complex and will be dealt with in a later way chapter. My last comment on this topic is this. The children of Islam were given the final teachings of the Dhamma via Muhammad and Fatima. They were told to protect all the teachings of the books and to make the Word of God available to all those who seek it. The knowledge of the Torah, the teaching of Jesus, and the prophetic words of Muhammad are for all the children of the One. It is the mission of Islam to protect these and to ensure that they are available to all pilgrims who seek the Word of God. This is of the way. Now, let us get back to our discussion of angels. I am only going to use one more example of a collective angel event. If you read enough of the Old Testament of the Bible, you quickly get the opinion that angels more often than not were of an avenging nature. This, however, would be far from the truth, as we are about to see. There are two very special collective angels mentioned in the Bible. They are the archangels, Michael and Gabriel. The name Michael means who is like God. In Christian mythology, Michael is the angel who led God's forces against those of Satan. We have already discussed the Great War, but just to set the record straight, there were three leaders of Dhamma forces who fought the rebels. The first was Isra, or Hathor. The second was Hel-Ni, Hel or Athene. And the third was Enraki, or Shia-Thoth. Note that the first two are both females. Michael can now be thought of as simply a generic term for a high-ranking collective angel, but in its proper form of Ma-Ka-El designates the feminine. It's spelled M-A-K-A-W-E-L. Ma-Ka-El designates the feminine. The next rung down on the collective angels hierarchy is Gabriel, or Gabri, simply means person, or El, and El means God. This is just like someone saying, I'm a man of God, or I'm a woman of God. It is important to realize the distinction between the two names and the rank and hierarchy they designate. Michael would be used mostly for females, but could be a male of a very high rank. Gabriel would be a messenger, but not as high-ranking. Imagine a general as compared to, say, a captain. We will be looking at a Michael event, but in later way chapter. The event I want to look at now involves a Gabriel collective angel event, and a very special one at that. There was in the days of Herod